Welcome to the Banter and Bliss Podcast. My name is Jason. I'm here with my stunning co-host, Allie.
Hey, everyone.
And today is episode 17. We're going to talk about ghosts on this gloomy day.
Ooh.
There's going to be 3 of us in this session. No, it's not another human being. It is an AI. We are actually going to be incorporating some questions that we're going to talk about today. I'm not going to claim credence like I came up with these questions, but we're setting up this podcast and we want to talk about ghosts. And I know ghosts are a topic of interest for Allie. My background's in science. I'm very cool idea, but
It's funny because we're both skeptics, but I feel like I'm the hopeful skeptic and you're the cynic skeptic out of the two.
What is a hopeful skeptic?
I haven't seen a ghost personally or experienced anything paranormal myself. So I don't believe in ghosts with evidence that I've personally experienced. But the idea of them would be cool. I don't know if I would want them in my own house, but it would be cool to go to a haunted place and then. Well, see, that's the other weird
see
thing.
The faulty logic in this. She thinks or hopes they're real, but then wants to go to a haunted place. And if they are real and they can attach to you, and you go to a haunted place, then you're bringing that shit back.
I'm also with the whole Zach Bagans thing, though.
Oh my god,
that was really weird. I'm not gonna lie. I still think about that.
We've talked about that on this
I
podcast
know,
a bunch, right?
But I still think that was way too coincidental. And I've never felt that before where I wanted to faint.
All right.
Legitimately.
We'll get into the whole Zach Bagans and all that.
Do any of the questions have to do with that?
Well, I think some of them can kind of go into that. So GPT popped out about 10 questions. We'll see if we can go through these. Some of them may be quick. Others maybe not. But let's give it a shot. So, first question. What are ghosts? Define what you mean by the term ghost and discuss the different types of ghosts that people believe in. And so obviously for this podcast, most of it's probably going to be me asking questions to you. I'll interject with, my INTJ-based rationality and thinking and logic. But
and by no means are any of these professional opinions or anything. We're not. I am certainly.
I'm a professional INTJ.
Yeah,
and you're
I just watch a lot of scary movies and ghost videos. I just like it.
Yeah, I mean, ghosts are not with many things, it's more of a belief rather than.
Well,
there is no science that indicates that they're real. So
yeah, well, see, the science is the evidence that people capture, but the problem with the evidence is we don't know if it's true.
No,
everything can be edited.
Well, the way that science works is evidence and data must be able to be tested and replicated.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say multiple videos of ghosts being captured?
Oh, that doesn't count. No. Everything that they do on there, I should be able to do the exact same thing. And I bet if I did the things that you see in those videos, I wouldn't get anything. Like these are not.
Well, what if that's similar? It's because if ghosts are real, they're like these beings. So they're not going to be the same thing. It'd be like if you went to a lake and you caught a rare creature on camera. Theoretically, then someone else should be able to go to that lake and find that creature. But what if you can't find that creature? It's just hiding. It's not appearing, but it's there. But because it's alive, essentially, it's not like it's going to be this perfect test where it's at the same exact spot where the other person saw them.
Well, no, it's not going to
Isn't
necessarily be
that
in the same spot.
how ghosts also work? Where it's how is that a thing in science if it can't be captured, because it's like ghosts come out when they want.
Well, there are things that in instances like that are simply not replicatable. But if they're not replicatable and they're not testable, then you can't use science to prove their existence. And if you can't use science to prove their existence, then we're just running in circles, because then it's just people just saying whatever they believe, which...
Well, I think that's why people bring like video cameras and stuff, because that's like the best that you could do.
Yeah, but like video, like there's so much doctored things nowadays.
That's the thing.
But that's so the doctoring is if it looks legit, it could be doctored. Most of the videos that we'll watch a YouTube video of whomever it is that you follow, and we'll watch them, and 95% of the ghosts and the things all look ridiculous. They don't look like ghosts. They just look like weird. This spot is darker in the camera, or something that can be basically...
Say that about Allah, whatever his name is.
That's what I said. Well, his videos are weird, and I don't necessarily say like it is something for sure. All I say is like, what the fuck was that? I can't think of something that could have produced that. Like, I can't see how he faked it. But I don't know what it means, right? A lot of the other ones, it's just like, where's the... an image or something on a camera is not like, that's a ghost. It's like, well, what are the more likely, reasons for those things? Occam's razor. You always want to use Occam's razor.
It's just amazing to me, though, like, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people record their shit. And yet it's like they're still skeptics.
Well, sure. People can record whatever they want. It doesn't mean that it's true. People make up news stories and publish them on Twitter and shit, and then they're fabricated. Like, I see that stuff all the time. Even the Russian-Ukraine war is the same thing. Someone will post something and be like, oh, there's the blah, blah, this person. And then everyone is in the comments, oh my God, that's awful. That's this, that's that. And then you end up finding out someone fact-checked it. And it's like, that's a video from a year ago. And they're using it now to create a narrative.
I just don't know if like normal families that are like using their CCTV or whatever, and shit happens in the middle of the night. I just don't think a majority of the families are trying to fake it. But I don't know. See, it's just weird because there's so many of those instances.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for these things, right? Like, some of them are just pure faking it for entertainment. There are others that are faking it to try to prove something because they like believe in it or whatever. Then there's going to be others that they don't necessarily know what it is. They're just weirded out. And then there's some other explanation for it. And it's not necessarily ghosts, right? Like, there are plenty of times where shit happens or you see something and it's really, really weird. And you're like, what the fuck was that? And it's not necessarily a ghost. You may think it is. But it's like, oh. And then it goes back.
What's a ghost?
Well, that was the question I asked you.
I know.
So, answer it.
Well, apparently, according to paranormal professionals, there's poltergeists, there's shadow figures, there's spirits, there's demons, there's I forget, there's like another one. They're all in the game Phasmophobia. The types, but I can't remember all of them.
Okay.
But yeah, those are the basics.
So what are they? Obviously, they're all different things, right? But what are they all entities that lived and are dead and now they're still here? Are some of them, they never actually existed on the planet and they're, or
I would say all of them probably existed as humans. Sounds so ridiculous. Except for demons. Demons are not or were never human. Allegedly, spirits and poltergeists were human beings at some point. That's the theory.
So why are some one thing and some are another?
I guess it depends how they decide to like materialize themselves.
So by that logic, you can be a poltergeist and then also be a demon and then also be a spirit, whether they want
I'm
to
wondering
or
if
not.
some of them have like, if some of them have regrets, or they don't want to pass into the next life or move on. Maybe that determines how they stay. But or if maybe they have evil within them. I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't. No idea. I think ghosts, I like to think of it as more of a science explanation. I would prefer ghosts being either humans or beings from like another dimension, parallel universe, things merging, like something like that, more than a dead human. I'd rather it be maybe not necessarily aliens, but maybe it's like something along those lines where it's a parallel universe, multi-dimensional being. Not sure. That would make more sense as like, because I don't know, it's just more sciencey.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that because those explanations or potential explanations I'm more comfortable with than the others. The others kind of seem more like religious, like Bible based kind of like religious text where it's just someone says something and that's what it is. And there isn't really any like concrete evidence. Now, someone who's watching this may say, well, what do you mean multidimensional and aliens and stuff like that? And there is some science to back that up, right? Like string theory, M theory, like there is quantum physics that does indicate that there likely are, and I this stuff I haven't read in a couple of years, so I don't know what the new information on it is. But from when I last read about that, there is some decent evidence. Now, a lot of it is theoretical physics, right? Basically, they can prove with math that likely would exist. Obviously, we can't fucking test it, right? So that's the weird area of why it's theoretical physics. Because how do you test a being in another dimension? Especially if it's a being in a dimension above us. It's very, very difficult. Very interesting analogy I'll give on this one, because I've read about this and it's so fascinating. It's like if you have an ant and you put an ant on a piece of paper or a playing card or something like that, and then you twist it and you make this forgot what the scientific term is, but it's a certain type of like loop where it's like a figure eight where it loops in on itself and then it comes back to so it starts at a point, it goes through this path and then ends up back at the same point after it's traveled, right? So it's like, in a sense, it's like circular logic. So what's interesting is that you can place an ant on, it's a Mobius strip. That's what it's called. So you can place an ant on this strip and it goes around it and it comes back to the same spot. Now, to an ant, it looks like a two-dimensional object, but it's actually a three-dimensional object, right? But you can only see that if you're existing within the third dimension, which is how we're existing, right? Just like how the fourth dimension, which would be time, right? Space and time. Theoretically, if you lived in the fourth dimension, you could see a third dimensional being's existence from the beginning to the end, the Mobius strip. So theoretically, if you lived in a fourth dimension and you look down at a third dimensional being, you could see their entire life from beginning to end, like in a like linear fashion. So that's interesting. Because basically the point of this, to relate to what we're talking about, is that in this instance, if a ghost or an alien or whatever was a being in a dimension that's higher than us, we wouldn't even be able to not only like fathom them, but also we likely wouldn't be able to interact with them. They may be this thing that we can't see, that we can't understand. They say the same thing about the universe. You know, like the universe is potentially like a hologram of something else. So thinking about it in that realm and going down that can be kind of weird. So let's go on to some other questions. Some of these are kind of along the same vein. Have you ever had any personal experiences with ghosts? And, you know, if so, describe what happened, how it affected you. Obviously, you've talked about the Zach Bagans thing, although you didn't see a ghost or anything like that. You just kind of like felt weird and like ill-ish. But you didn't like see a ghost and like the ghost like touched you and stuff or whatever.
No, it was just because, like, obviously, I have anxieties and things going on and whatever. The reason why this one sticks out for me is because I'm hyper aware of my body at all times because of my phobia. So like any sudden change, any feeling, any pain, pressures, whatever it is, I instantly notice and I'm hyper aware of it. The thing that happened at Zach Bagans was it was like a weird sensation that I've only ever felt that one time. And I don't even understand what it was. It was like a weird combination of a heavy chest pressure and a severe lightheadedness, like I was off balance and I literally needed like to cling to you. Like that first half of the tour. I was moments away from asking the tour guide to like, where's the exit? Because I'm gonna like pass out. Granted, the second half of the tour, it like dissipated. It subsided. It wasn't as bad. Obviously, I was still feeling kind of like off, but for whatever reason, the first part, I was not okay. And I've never felt that intense of wanting to pass out. And I think I've been in scenarios where I've come close to it for sure, especially in like jujitsu, you know, where you're going so hard, you're like kind of thirsty and you're tired and you're like pushing yourself to like the limits. I feel like there have been many times where I should have like almost passed out even then, or even being choked out, whatever. But yeah, it was weird. I felt so like wobbly, but that was like a physical. Like I don't know if it was just like energies. Like I don't understand like what could have happened. Yeah, and then it like didn't go away until like that night, like until I fell asleep. So I don't know. I don't know what that is. Like people will probably say like, oh, it was energies and maybe you were just, I don't know, absorbing all of them if there were, I don't know. Could have just been a weird panic attack. Could have been something in the ventilation system, for all I know. I have no idea. But whatever it was, like in there, I've never experienced that in my whole life. So that's the only thing that's weird about it. I can't say that it's ghosts, but it's also not out of the realm of, maybe there's things that we don't quite understand yet. I'm not opposed to it. It's kind of scary if it was the case. And yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I wasn't scared or nervous. Like, I was actually really excited to be there. I've been to haunted places before, never experienced that. So, don't know. I really don't. So, that's like I guess one of the weirder things. Like, I've had other like minor things happen where, like, in my bedroom, like at dad's, like, I was sleeping once and there was like this sensation of, I was like laying on my side and like I thought, like I was kind of like in that half awake feeling, and it sort of felt like someone was like coming closer and closer and closer, and I just felt like someone was like right there, like staring at me, and then like my eyes like flung open, and then it was just like this like weird quiet like eerie feeling, and like I just was like really freaked out when I woke up, and then like dad was gone, and then there was like another time, like I was at someone's house and there was like a shadowy figure outside the window that moved, and someone else that I was with saw it, and like it was like a head like outside of the window, but the blinds were down. So we just saw like a figure like move like outside the window. So, but that could have actually just been a person for all I know. But also the weird thing about that is he lived across the street from a graveyard. So also kind of weird. But I can't explain these things. Like, these aren't certainties that there's ghosts, but it was definitely weird. So those are my kind of only experiences, which aren't actually experiences. They're just like, I don't have an answer for them.
Sure. So I've never had it's funny because she'll say like I believe in ghosts, or like I want to know about them, or like you wish they were real or whatever. And then there are these like places that are haunted, and yet you want to go to them. And it's funny because it's weird because I'm the complete opposite, where like I don't like logically I don't think they exist. Yet if there's haunted places, I'm not super keen to go because I don't necessarily believe they exist. But if they do exist, it's like I don't want to fuck with that. So, it's like if they do exist and there's a place that's haunted, why would I want to go there and like let this haunted thing attach to me? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Would you ever
So
play with a Ouija board?
yeah, I mean, it's a fucking board made by like Mattel or whatever. It's a mass-produced cardboard game that's produced by a company. So sure, I would play. I don't think anything would happen. But yeah, I mean, it's like if they did exist, I wouldn't. Like the idea, the concept of them is like scary, for sure. But I also don't think there's any like evidence and science to support it. Now, in terms of my personal experiences, like I said, I've never had any. There are times where like things happen and they're like weird, which is exactly like all the scenarios you mentioned, where it was just like, oh, it's like weird. I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I had a friend in, I think it was like middle school and high school. I think I was in middle school at the time, or maybe I was in like ninth grade or something like that. And I slept over his place. And I remember I think we were friends for like a year or something. And maybe it was like the first time I was like going over to his place, or it was a couple months. I don't remember. But I remember him telling me, because we had another mutual friend and he had slept over, and I remember him telling me like that their place was haunted. They thought it was haunted because they had a chair that would randomly rock in the house, and just weird stuff happens all the time, etc. So I was like, yeah, I don't really believe, but like that'd be like cool to see, I guess. I don't know. So I stayed over at his place, and I never saw anything like haunted. There was no chair that rocked or anything like that. I do vividly remember there was one time it tripped us the fuck out. It was so weird because he was feeding this idea of like it's haunted and all this weird stuff happens, and like his mom, I think, believed it too or something. And we were like I remember we were like in the living room, and we were like, I don't know, doing something, or we were like watching TV or whatever it was. And his mom, I think she was like a nurse or something. So she was like out of the house, and it was just the two of us there. And she called, phone rang, and he picked it up. And she's like, hey, I think this was at the time with like pagers. She's like, hey, did you page me? Or like, did you call me or whatever it was? She's like, I got a page from the house. And we didn't call her. So when that happened, and we were like, fuck, like what the hell's going on? This like, was tripping us out. That's not evidence of ghosts or whatever. I don't know what it was, but it was extra creepy. It would be, even if there wasn't a ghost thing and that happened, I would think that was weird. But it was extra creepy because he said his place was haunted. And so that's it. I mean, there are times where I've heard noises or seen weird whatever, and I don't consider those to be personal experiences with ghosts. They're just weird events that kind of creep me out, or creep you out, or like freaking girl that's come to our door before. Oh my God. I don't know. This girl was like schizo or something, but she like randomly came to our door and like
knocked for an hour.
Like she didn't say anything. She came to the door and was like, I don't even know if you can hear that.
She would like look into the people too.
Yeah, and she would like stare into the people, and then okay. Actually, we may as well give this because we call her Ghost Girl.
Oh my gosh, we do.
Quickly. Yes, quickly, and then we'll jump to the next question. So I think
I should say it.
You want to say? Do you remember it?
Well, because you're gonna turn it into 10-minute story.
Oh. I asked you what are ghosts, and you took 5-10 minutes and didn't answer the question. So
hey, that
was on you.
Talked about other things. Anyway, this is the second time that we've had her come by too. The first time she came at night.
Give the context of the first one. Because the reason why it was Ghost Girl was because she did not see her, but she. Yeah,
no, I heard it. So I was the one who heard the knock. Well, I think you were like going pee or something, and then I was kind of like, I would think I was like brushing my hair or something, because I was on the other side of the vanity where the door is, and our bathroom is right next to the front door. So I heard the knock, little like very soft, but you heard the knock as well. But you were next to me.
Yeah, we both looked at each other.
Yeah, and I was like, I think that was a knock. You're like, I heard it too. And then I was like, and then you went to go check into the peephole, and you're like, there's someone there.
No.
Right?
No. There was no one there.
You saw her though.
No.
Yes. You're like, there's a girl there.
Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Yeah. There was a girl that was there that was like staring at the peephole.
Yeah, no, you saw the girl, and then
I went back to the bathroom, told you.
You're like, there's someone there. And then I went to check, and nobody was there.
Yeah. And then I went back and looked. That was it.
And she was gone. Yeah. And it was really creepy. And then like months later, you would keep thinking, Oh, maybe that was her. Oh, that kind of looked like her. We didn't know if she lived
Yeah.
here because we're in an apartment complex. We didn't know if she was like another tenant or something. So what, like a year later or so?
It was a couple months.
Couple months? Oh.
It was just enough time to kind of forget about her.
Yeah.
And then it came back.
Yeah, and then she oh my god, it was so early.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 months.
It was like 7 in the morning or something, wasn't it? Yeah, it was early because remember we were both in bed.
I think it was like 8 o'clock on like a Saturday or something like that. It was like 7:50, 8 o'clock. It was really
we
really
were
early.
Sleeping, and all of a sudden we get like this knock.
Oh no!
Sorry, doorbell, and we now know it was she. She kept ringing it. And I was like, go check who it is. Like, I thought maybe it was like a maintenance man or something, like the apartment. And then you said it was the girl. You're like, oh my God, it's Ghost Girl. And then she kept going because you were kind of ignoring her for a while. And then I think it was funny when you tried to be like, what do you want? Deep voice, like, why are you here?
It was really creepy. Well, she was ringing the doorbell in a very weird, obnoxious way.
Repeatedly.
Like, not like, oh, every couple minutes. Yeah. It was that. It was literally doo-doo, doo-doo,
and then like knock,
yeah.
Trying to open the door.
And so I was sitting there and I started getting fucking pissed at her. And I was
especially
like,
when they're trying to open the door with like the handle.
Yeah. So she started like opening the fucking door handle and I see the door like, because it's locked, because I'm at the door. Allie was in bed.
I started recording after 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, okay, like, because we were like debating on calling the police. And then when we decided to call the police, I started recording.
Yeah, she kept doing it. And then I see the door fucking handle going. I'm like, yo, this fucking bitch is trying to get in. And then she started talking and she was whispering to me. She's like, let me in. And then she was like, I miss you. And blah, blah. And it was like really, really creepy. And then when the cops came, I was telling them the stuff. They started asking, they're like, do you know this girl? Like, whatever. Like, it seemed like a weird, like crazy ex.
Yeah. And you're like, no.
Something or whatever.
Never met her. Never seen her in my life.
Yeah. And she was there for like, it was about 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was a long time.
And she was so obnoxious, we couldn't just fall back asleep.
Yeah, we were up after that. Because it was like adrenaline rush. It was kind of scary, kind of freaky. Like,
yeah. And thankfully, she hasn't been back since.
She has not been back since, yeah. Although I still think about it. Like every time I turn the hallway to look at our front door, I always feel like she's going to be there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. The vibe I got from her in that interaction was that she probably is like schizophrenic or something.
Schizo, and maybe she knew somebody that lived here.
See, that's the thing though. If you're schizophrenic, you'll think there are people that you're talking to and they're not actually them. So she could have thought in her head, oh yeah, there's someone I know, but it's like she doesn't know anyone here. Like that's stereotypical of like, schizophrenic or like manic bipolar and stuff like that. Like paranoid delusions. Really weird.
Which kind of, I feel like should bring us to like the final point, which is I feel like people are way more scarier than ghosts.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, people are fucking creepy. Okay, so we're about like 34-minute mark. Let me scroll through these and see if there's any other like really good ones we should kind of go over. What evidence exists? We kind of talked about that a lot, so I don't really want to go into that. Are they real? Product of our imaginations? Why do people believe in ghosts? I think that's an interesting question. There's like, what are some of the most haunted places in the world? I mean, we've heard of some, but I don't think it's that important. So I think out of the remaining ones, let's kind of do a combination of this one. Like, so why do you think people believe in ghosts? And maybe talk about the psychological and cultural impacts on the belief of ghosts. I think that's a really, really good question. I think it's a good way to kind of end too.
I think it definitely stems from religion.
Well, right. Like if you're saying spirits, demons, all of these things are all religious based, right? There's no like science like, yeah, there's a demon.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast and they were doing a story in the South, a murder podcast, and they'd went up to like a neighbor or something, and the neighbor was just like claiming everything was demons. Just
Another potential schizo thing.
That kid, he's trouble, demons. Oh, that food tastes bad, demons. Like just claimed everything was demons.
Demons ruined my food.
Yeah, just everything was demons, and it was like, okay.
It's a cop out, really.
A cop out for sure. And I don't know. So it definitely stems from biblical literature, and the Bible can be interpreted in whatever way you want it to, like for you. I think for people who aren't biblical, though, it could be a way to sort of conceptualize and interpret something that's unexplainable, like a phenomena that has no reasoning, or like, for example, like if you wake up and all your cabinets are open, people will say they have ghost.
Right.
Maybe they slept walk in the middle of the night and opened them all. You just don't know. And so, I mean, I guess you could film it, and then that's what people do is they film it, but then it's like, did they doctor it? Like we talked about, we'll never know. So it's tough because, like, I feel like filming it is like the only thing that'll prove ghosts in most cases, especially like a poltergeist, especially like those move things. They don't show themselves and materialize like shadow figures.
Like the Venturala, this guy on YouTube.
Poltergeists are those for sure.
So this dude, I think he's in Saudi Arabia or something like that. He's in a Middle Eastern country, and he goes into these abandoned places that are like, it's like there hasn't been a human in there in like 100 years. They're so dusty. I don't know how his lungs aren't fucked up at this point. And there's all these random things in there, and they just fucking spin. The door slams. There's shit on the floor that moves. And it's like,
what I like about his videos is he'll chase the thing. So like if something happens, he'll like go in the room and like look and see if there's somebody there or strings, like, so he immediately goes after that.
Right, like when the door closes and then opens, he'll go in, he'll like kick his
foot. Kick it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty convincing, although that could also be doctored. We don't know. We'll never really know until I think something happens to us personally. And even if something does happen to us personally, even like the Zach Bagans thing, it's like, if that was an experience, I'm not even sure of it. If it was an experience, what makes me think if I see a freaking shadow figure in our house that I'm going to like shake my head and then it's gone? I'm going to like doubt myself that I even saw anything. Like, I can't even trust myself.
Well, you can't. And that's kind of the point, right? Like, look at court cases. Eyewitness testimony is awful.
Yep.
And they'll use it sometimes, but it's like, it's not credible. Even memories are not credible. People can, and it's not that necessarily people are doing things like in malicious ways, but it's just how the brain works. Is you will take a memory, and over time, the memory can change. It can morph based on your interpretation of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really that, and that kind of goes back to the whole thing of science, right? Which is like you have the concrete data and evidence that like anyone could test and replicate it the exact same way. You could do it. I could do it. I could explain to you how I did it, and then you do the exact same steps, and you get the same thing. So it's tough. It's one of those things. It's like, how do you really test? It's hard to do, and until that day comes, probably just won't know.
Yeah, it's same principle with like UFOs or aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, aliens are more probable, but like
Right. Like I don't have
the
evidence.
aircrafts are aliens.
Correct. Yeah. UFOs and someone has a camera thing. I don't really believe those for the most part. But the belief that there is no other life elsewhere in the universe is almost a mathematical uncertainty. Just because there's too many damn stars. Mm-hmm. It's like, just do the math. It's very simple. Count up how many stars there are in our universe. Count up the average amount of planets that revolve around each star, and get that amount, and then do a percentage on it. And even if you do a 0.000 whatever percent, it's like you're still going to get hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of potential.
Billions.
Yeah. So it's like you can take it and break it down and make it smaller, 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 and you're still going to have more than one. And that's the point. And that's also assuming there's only one universe, which, based on things we've talked about, there can be a multiverse, and then you're exponentially even complicating it even more.
Yeah, that's why I think ghosts are associated more with aliens if they do exist. Like if either of them exist, I would assume it's more along the alien realm of like theories.
But what is it? Okay, if it is that, real quick, if it is that, what is that? Is it an alien is trying to interact with someone? Why would they interact with some random fucking nobody in the middle of nowhere and slam his cabinet? Or is the alien doing something in their own realm and it's having like an after effect on this realm? Like,
yeah, I think it could be any of those. I think it could be in that realm. It's mixing. Maybe somebody lives there in that house in a different universe. Maybe they're like opening the cabinet in their universe, but it's like mixing with ours, and then it's shutting their cabinet. You know what? Like it could be really anything.
Fucking trippy.
Yeah, it could be anything. It's sort of like the movie The Others. Have you seen The Others?
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I've seen it.
Nicole Kidman?
Isn't that? It's about aliens, right?
No, so she lives in like this house, and there's like all these ghosts, like, and things happening, but then at the very end, she's the ghost.
Sounds like Sixth Sense.
Kind of, yeah. So it's like
spoiler if you haven't seen it.
That movie's been out forever, so.
Yeah. At what point do you not say spoiler anymore? It's like once it's been out for a year.
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah. So I would think it's something more along those lines, where it's like a merge or something, but I just don't think it's dead people. I don't know. I really don't. Like, and obviously we don't know what happens after we die. So, I mean, I personally think there's nothing, but we just don't know.
All right. Well, to end this morbid podcast on an even more morbid note, yeah, we'll go ahead and call it there. That was very interesting, enlightening discussion on ghosts, potentials, what kind of experiences we've had, or lack thereof.
Yeah, we haven't really had any. I mean, in the grand scheme of things,
I'm glad of that.
We're in our 30s, and like we've barely gotten 1 to 2 experiences. So
I'm cool with that. I could go the rest of my life without a ghost experience. I'm fine.
Imagine if the freaking like fridge just opened behind you.
Oh my fucking god. That would really fucking put an end to this podcast for sure. I'd be like, oh shit, fucking end.
Change my mind.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate it. If you like the video, please give us a like down below, subscribe, hit the bell. Help us out with the algo and all that. Definitely want to apologize for the delay. I think our last podcast was like 2 weeks ago.
It was a week and a half. It was like a Monday, I think. But we didn't upload till Tuesday.
The optimistic one. We need to be better about that. It's one of our New Year's resolutions we've been talking about. So hopefully we can get another one in within the next week. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. And until next time, take care.